Salute, salute, salute. It's your boy Gamer Kiyosuke of Legion of Knicks back here with another episode in the series of the 2021-2022 New York Knicks season preview. But before we get started, please hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the dark notification bell so you get every notification, every video I put out. Again, leave your comments at the end of the video. Let me know what you think about RJ Barrett, in this case, about the video, about the channel overall. And yes, in this episode, we'll be talking about RJ Barrett, the rising guard wing for the New York Knicks in his third season. Last year, he took a big step up, put up 17 points a game on 44% shooting, up from 40% his rookie year, 40.1% from the three-point line, up from 32% his rookie year, 75% from the stripe, up from 61% the previous year. We saw RJ Barrett take strides as a playmaker, as a shooter from the outside. You saw more of his resolve. You saw RJ Barrett growing right before our eyes, but this is a really important year for RJ Barrett to take that next step as an overall playmaker, as a consistently solid two-way player for the Knicks, given all the talent and expectations have grown on RJ Barrett. So in this one, I apologize, Julius Randle, I didn't do it on your last episode, but on this one, I'll provide a nice little outline to talk about what he already brings to the table and what I think that RJ Barrett can improve on. So check this out. So you look at RJ Barrett's game, what are the things I think that he can bring and what are the things I think that he can improve upon? So some of the positives to his game, he's a catch and shoot scorer, and now he's a solid perimeter threat for the team. He's a budding playmaker, underrated defender, and he's a tireless worker. I think some of the things that RJ Barrett could definitely improve upon is shooting off the dribble. Can add to that mid-range game. Has kind of been missing these past few seasons. Acceleration, deceleration, as well as finishing at the rim, and then also some of his lateral stiffness on defense. So last year, RJ Barrett's three-point shooting was a blessing for the Knicks and became a threat, especially as the season progressed, outside of that awful stretch in the beginning of the season. And with RJ Barrett, he's become this, I won't say lethal, but solid catch and shoot player, shooting well from both guarded and unguarded shots, ranking in the 77th percentile regarding catch and shoot shots in the league. And a lot of that has to do with him and Drew Hanlen. Drew Hanlen has been working with him since college, but worked with him to kick out his left elbow a little bit more out to give him a little bit more balance and leverage under each shot versus the arbitrary work that he had with Fizzo and Keith Smart, who were making him bring in the elbow a little bit more. And for whatever reason, both those guys were tinkering with the shot. To think that you have two coaches who are tinkering with your shot despite the development you've had with an independent coach. And your work with an independent coach seemed to be paid. But anyway, Fizzo and Keith Smart, whatever. RJ Barrett definitely developed with Drew Hanlen, but also because of Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau made it his mission to have this team shoot more corner threes. It's the easiest three-point shot on the floor. And it showed because last year the Knicks actually ranked 7th in three-point attempts from the corner spots, and they were number 3 regarding the three-point percentage from the corner three-point spot. So again, it's a combination of RJ Barrett, Drew Hanlen, and Tom Thibodeau's coaching, tutelage, and schemes that have definitely helped RJ Barrett become a solid perimeter threat and catch and shoot weapon for the Knicks. Another thing, RJ Barrett did fairly well from both the wings. He shot above average from both the wings last season. I would say the only place he truly struggled was the top of the key. And you saw it many times last season. He would kind of pull up, not with enough balance on his shots. His arm angles sometimes were a little bit off. The time was a little bit off. So I think that's one part he has to get a little bit more comfortable with. And you saw glimpses of it with Team Canada, him pulling off the dribble. And that's another thing we'll talk about, him shooting off the dribble. But I think RJ Barrett overall has become a viable three-point weapon for the Knicks that they could depend on, have him run off of plays away from the ball handle, away from the action, where again he can be that catch and shoot player in the corner, off the wings. So overall, good job by RJ Barrett. And another thing too is that he also did better with traffic around him. You saw him take a lot of shots with traffic coming on to him. That's why his catch and shoot numbers, guarded and unguarded, are fairly solid. So that'd definitely be a confidence booster for RJ Barrett going into next season. So as productive as RJ Barrett was from the perimeter, everything else kind of seemed to struggle. Now, we could talk about his rim production, but his mid-range game and shooting off the dribble in general was poor. Last season, he shot 33% off of shots off the dribble, which ranked in the 19th percentile. And his mid-range game was fairly non-existent. Now, it's interesting. Beginning of the season, his mid-range game actually looked good, but his outside game looked bad. Then as the season progressed, it kind of flipped to where his outside game looked better, but his mid-range game kind of suffered. I think some of the reasons that go into why his mid-range game suffered was because, one, the fatigue and the minutes. Go back to those early games, especially in the preseason. He was getting crazy lift off of shots within the mid-range. But then as the season progressed, you kind of see his legs kind of look a little bit heavy. He wasn't getting as much lift. I think that could have been obviously because of minutes. And I also think another thing too is that RJ Barrett was, I don't say robotic, but he had a plan A when attacking the mid-range shooting game, right? It was get to your spot and shoot the shot versus fill what the defense is giving you and attack in a more cerebral nature. You know, step, sidestep, lateral movement, pushing off and getting that shot off properly. You saw it sometimes, like in the Brooklyn game, he did that, ugly spin move on guys like KD, but you like to see it more in a natural manner within the flow of what the defense is giving, within the flow of the game. However, under Team Canada and Nick Nurse, RJ Barrett did shoot off the dribble quite a lot. Now, the numbers didn't look so great, but the ability started to shine a little bit. He took a few side steps to get that space of the lateral moves to shoot the outside shot. So RJ Barrett has definitely worked on being more comfortable shooting off the dribble, using little crossovers and between the leg moves to shoot from the outside off the dribble. So RJ Barrett will definitely have some more confidence going into the season. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going to be allowing RJ Barrett to shoot shots off the breaks and off the dribble without making a pass or willy-nilly like, say, he allowed IQ at times last season, unless RJ Barrett somehow proves that he can shoot at such a proficient level, whether it be in the regular season or regular season practices or in the preseason. But I definitely think that Tom Thibodeau was already doing it last year with a lot of screens, double screens, is going to allow RJ Barrett to shoot some shots off the dribble within the mid-range. Again, the Knicks do not have much of a mid-range presence outside of a few guys like Julius Randle, obviously guys like Bullock who had some of that. He left last season, or left this season, excuse me. But RJ Barrett will definitely have more opportunity this season as an overall playmaker to decide what the defense is giving him, attack the screens, and find space, sidestep, and attack that mid-range shot. So another deficiency that RJ Barrett is working on, and I'll put these two together, is acceleration, deceleration, and overall finishing at the rim. Now, last year, RJ Barrett was actually an elite company, let me say, regarding getting to the rim, but he was not regards to finishing at the rim. And I think a large part of that has to do with acceleration, deceleration. You saw RJ Barrett many times last year pick up his dribble way too early, attack the basket really with one speed, and kind of struggle to get that cerebral pace when finishing or starting to finish at the rim, understanding where the defenders were, whether it be the help defense or his initial defender. I thought that RJ Barrett struggled and got himself into these weird angles where he would be close to the rim but not close enough, and he would gather himself once the defender kind of kept moving, kind of got on his way. He would take, and sometimes contested, he would take these kind of gather shots that he tried to make off the backboard, or sometimes he tries to throw these weird floaters at angles, and a large part of it has to do with, again, him picking up his dribble and not having the cleanest of spaces and spots to finish. I like to see RJ Barrett keep his dribble long enough until he has a right opportunity, whether it be to kick out to another teammate or a cutting teammate, someone on the roll, if it's delayed pick and roll, or until he has enough step and power to finish close to the rim despite the traffic or the defense that might be nearby. I like to see RJ Barrett improve his hesitation dribble in traffic, and that pattern of start and stop hezzy that you see guys like CP3, Butler, Curry, Booker perfect. I would love to see RJ Barrett add that to his arsenal. Obviously, he's not done, but RJ Barrett has shown at times to have that hesitation dribble. Go back to that game against the Milwaukee Bucks where he caught Chris Middleton. But see, in those situations, RJ Barrett typically was out on the perimeter, had enough space, and had enough of a step to get kind of that running steam and then be able to use a hesitation. But I would like to see RJ Barrett be able to utilize that under duress and within traffic near close to the paint, so he could be able to facilitate, play make, like guys like Jimmy Butler did 2 seasons ago under the bubble. And another thing, like I mentioned earlier before, he loves to take those weird floaters sometimes where it's indecisive. He doesn't know whether he wants to hit off the backboard or throw it cleanly into the hoop, nothing but net. But to me, RJ Barrett, it doesn't matter. Hit it off the backboard, make your game as effective as possible. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. I think RJ Barrett has to have a better feel for his game when he's attacking the basket. He's an elite company when getting to the rim. He just doesn't finish in elite company. Now, last season you saw RJ Barrett's ability as a playmaker. He did average about 3 assists a game, which is not world beater, but given that it was his second year in the league and given that he was on a Fizdale, I thought that he did a solid job, especially coming off of screens, be able to trap defenders better on the hip. Even though he did struggle scoring overall regarding the pick and roll sets last season, I thought he did a way better job. You saw him at the beginning of games run that pick and roll with him and Mitch, where he started off the game solid with either a point from him, a kick out to someone on the perimeter, or an alley to Mitchell Robinson. I thought R.J. Barrett's court vision, especially off of the dribble when he's driving baseline, seeing teammates cut through the paint, or seeing teammates out on the perimeter, I thought R.J. Barrett did a solid job. Now, again, his usage was relatively low. I think it was about 23% last season. Obviously, a lot of the playmaking revolved around Randle, and many times R.J. Barrett wasn't in the end of games, but R.J. Barrett did show an ability to did show solid ability regarding his court awareness. Go back to that Pacers game where he was the one that helped lead us back against them. We were down by, by 10 or whatever it was. With 5 minutes left to go, no one was able to score, and he attacked the basket and then use the defenses feeding into his ability to get to the hoop, kicked it out to Randle out on the perimeter. And yes, it's a simple play, but again, him on the ball, he showed his ability to make with the ball in his hands and off the dribble. So I think that R.J. Barrett, given the fact that you got guys like Kemba Walker with his knee issues, I don't think he's going to be playing heavily on the ball as we expect or hope so this season. You have to preserve him for the full season, but he's still an excellent outside shooter. You got guys like Evan Fournier, you even got guys like Julius Randle, who was a solid catch and shoot player, was a threat from the perimeter last season. I think that having a guy like RJ Barrett again throws a wrinkle into the against the defense regarding our offense and allows us to play making a myriad of ways. Have RJ Barrett dribble, drive, kick out, use a pick and roll, kick it out to those guys in the perimeter, run the pick and roll with a guy like Randle, who I mentioned in my last video, needs to operate a little bit more in the pick and roll. And another thing with RJ Barrett too, I like to see RJ Barrett more in the post-up. Now, obviously last year, Julius Randle was our post-up maestro. He was a do-it-all, whatever, from the post last season. And a lot of playmaking came from him to be able to join the defenses and then have our offense either flash on the wings or someone cut through the middle for that pass, a little handoff. But I think that RJ Barrett, if you look at his post-up numbers, they were decent last season, just didn't run a lot from him. I think RJ Barrett also has a court awareness to operate from those post positions. Have a guy like Julius Randle out on the perimeter, drag away his defender from the paint. Have a guy like Fournier cut through the basket. Have a guy like Kemba move around and flash at the wing to take those shots while, say, someone else is setting a pick for his man in that corner wing kind of cross-action motion or scheme that we've seen several times last season with Reggie Bullock. So, again, R.J. Barrett can be used in a myriad of ways, and I think that he has strong enough court vision to get on. Again, granted, he works on his hesitation dribble, be able to keep his dribble and be able to attack with both the left and the right. Now that keeps defenses guessing. That might bring in another help defender. He may even have another avenue to pass out to a teammate, whether they're cutting or moving out and flashing, to provide an opportunity for RJ Barrett to pass. So again, this season I think is an important season for RJ Barrett to show himself as a playmaker, take that Jimmy Butler next step to improving his overall game. Now let's get to RJ Barrett's defense. I thought last year RJ Barrett was an underrated defender, especially given the fact that he suffered an ankle injury right around that last Wolves game. He did grade out fairly average against the man defense, but again, I think a lot of that has to do with his defense trying to work with that ankle injury, and then you put on the amount of minutes he played last year, the usage he had last year. And I think that when you look at what RJ Barrett did last year, he was a good defender against the spot-up shots. He ranked around the 72nd percentile against spot-up shots. He was really effective in the pick-and-roll defense. And yes, he did suffer regarding isolation defense regarding off-screen plays. But I will say RJ Barrett, when you look at the totality of his game, and sounds like I'm making an excuse for him, look at that ankle injury, RJ Barrett still did fairly well given all the circumstances. So look at RJ Barrett's defensive numbers before and after his ankle injury. His defense within the perimeter worsened after that March 31st date, which is when he was suspected to have that ankle injury. But to RJ's credit, his perimeter defense improved. That speaks to tenacity and hard work and buying into Tom Thibodeau's aggressive defensive schemes. But that injury, along with the heavy minutes, did take its toll on RJ Barrett. Whether it was getting beat to the rim or his poor post-up defense, RJ Barrett below the break struggled after that injury. And this year, RJ Barrett will have to primarily guard the league's best wings. He may not be able to exert his size on smaller guards like he did last year. He may be able to use his size to go strength for strength against slow wings, but he still have to control his fouling, which increased to 2.6 personal fouls per game last season. He'll also not have the added benefit of having above average wing defenders in Reggie Bullock or even a decent guard defender in Elfrid Payton. So RJ Barrett's defensive versatility and discipline could be the biggest factor in maintaining the Knicks' defensive prowess from last season. And that help the helper defense, RJ Barrett will have to account for any paint penetration sent near him and account for his assignment as well. Now, there are two guys I think RJ Barrett should take a page out of their book regarding acceleration, deceleration, using the mid-range game and overall playmaking, and that's Jimmy Butler and DeMar DeRozan. With Jimmy Butler, given the roles he had to take with the Bulls after Derrick Rose went down, and his time in Minnesota, given that Jeff Teague wasn't as strong of a playmaking option as Tibbs probably would have liked him to be, Butler developed some really good playmaking skills, namely acceleration, deceleration, where despite not being the quickest or the fastest, he did a great job of starting and stopping and controlling himself right at the basket, using that hop step to complete at the rim. And he was able to read defenses and use hesitation dribble, which not only afforded him a solid percent at the rim, but allowed him to become an effective facilitator off of the dribble. Jimmy Butler also initiated a lot of action or a lot of separation off of that shimmy move, which would be another weapon that RJ Barrett could develop and utilize down the line. And the thing with Jimmy Butler, too, is that he's able to exploit his defenders with his guile, hesitation, acceleration, deceleration at the rim, as well as his hesitation dribble. He's catching these defenders at their worst times. He has a free throw draw rate, career free throw draw rate of 50%. In his days with Chicago, he had a free throw draw rate of 45% sometimes, some years as high as 50%. Last year, he had a free throw draw rate of 57%. The year before that, in the bubble year, he had a free throw draw of 70%. So Jimmy Butler, you could say at an elite level, is making defenders pay with his guile and all the things he's doing to catch defenders off the misstep. And RJ Barrett, whose free throw draw rate dropped from 35% to 26%, but his free throw rate climbed up to 75% from 61% the last year or previous season. His rookie season, he's not making, or he did not make defenders pay as much. With all that bully ball and being able to get to the rim at a quasi or semi-elite level, he really wasn't making defenders pay either with his finishing or his foul draw rate. So again, RJ Barrett, if he wants to take that next step, he has to become a lot more effective at using the hesitation dribble, acceleration, deceleration, to not just finish, but also draw contact when he wants. So another person I like RJ Barrett to take a page out of his book would be DeMar DeRozan. People may kill me, and I understand, look, with Toronto, he was a do-it-all kind of dynamic guard alongside Kyle Lowry, or wing, let me say, under Dwayne Casey, but I felt like he took his playmaking ability to another level under Popovich. Popovich, they play that 4-out with his constant movement on the outside to create proper spacing based off the ball action. And I thought that under Popovich, you put him in the proper positions. Like I said, they play 4-out, or they use a pick and roll with DeMar DeRozan, use him in a post-up, which I advocated or said that Tom Thibodeau should definitely utilize for RJ Barrett regarding his playmaking ability. They utilize that a lot for DeMar DeRozan, whether it be in a high pinch, sometimes in a low post, and allowed him to facilitate from there. And I thought that DeMar DeRozan did a really good job. I think last year averaged around 6 assists or so. But you saw his playmaking really shine under Popovich. And another thing that helped him out was that he had a mid-range game. Now with RJ Barrett, given the fact that RJ Barrett really didn't have a mid-range game, once RJ Barrett was driving, he was somewhat linear. Like he developed a Euro step. He developed some hesitation moves here and there, but they weren't really sufficient to cause a scare in the defenses regarding his finishing at the rim. Obviously, his finish at the rim wasn't too good last year. And because he didn't have a mid-range, you knew he was going to go one. It's very linear. So with RJ Barrett, I love him develop that mid-range game similar to how DeMar DeRozan has over the years. That definitely opened up his playmaking ability. Now you have defenses guessing. Now you have maybe a defender trying to help, and they seeping in, and you could kick it out to the perimeter guy. You could also still have the roll guy open. But again, with DeMar DeRozan, his playmaking, the fact that he keeps his dribble up, especially in traffic, he does a really good job of trapping defenders on the hip off of the screens. He's outside of a three-point shot, he's a very solid playmaker at the wing position, and I hope that RJ Barrett can take those things from his mid-range game, keeping up the dribble, learning how to trap defenders off the hip, having that court vision, which RJ Barrett has displayed at times. But this season, given that, like I said, Kemba Walker is probably not going to have the ball as much as we hope or think he would, given his years with Charlotte and his first year with the Celtics, I think RJ Barrett's going to have the ball a lot more in his hands. And so those skills I would love for him to take or emulate from DeMar DeRozan, given how DeMar DeRozan is developing into one of the better playmaking wings in the league. So with RJ Barrett, will he be our most important playmaker? And I think he will be. I think that the league is out or they know the scout reports are out on Julius Randle. I do think Julius Randle is going to up his facilitation just because he's going to have easier options with more talent around him. He has to have Elfrid Payton on his team. He's going to get Mitchell Robinson back, who has short hands and knows it well. But I think RJ Barrett, because the league doesn't really necessarily have a book on his so-called upside. I know it sounds crazy, but I think RJ Barrett, given the fact that he was working with Team Canada, Nick Nurse, who has a good relationship with Johnny Bryant, obviously Johnny Bryant, Tom Thibodeau, I think have a plan for RJ Barrett to develop as a do-it-all playmaking wing, to be able to hit the mid-range shot, to be able to hit from outside, to be able to bring the ball up, be able to facilitate, be able to operate in a pick and roll. I think that RJ Barrett's offensive role this season is definitely going to grow. I think that the Knicks have a plan for him. And when you look at his game overall, you're talking about a guy who next season could average any around that 20-point mark, average around 4.5 to 6 assists a night. I think his free throw shooting is going to get better. I think his three-point shooting might dip a little bit because he's going to have a few more catch and shoot opportunities. But again, I think the ball will be in his hands a lot more than it was last season. Derrick Rose is also getting up there in age, knock on wood. Hopefully he does not get hurt. But RJ Barrett is going to have to take that next step in becoming a playmaker. And given all the hard work he's put over the summer and given his mentality, his hard work, his work ethic, I think he will be our most important playmaker because his development will dictate how bright our future is. Julius Randle already signed a contract. When you look at some of the younger guys, obviously guys like IQ, Grimes, still a young person, Deuce McBride, and he's a rookie, so you really don't know what you have. Obi Toppin is still a question mark, even though I think he's gotten better. RJ Barrett is really the only guy you can say in the intermediate and the long term is truly your foundational talent, your foundational dynamic talent that gives you some surety now and gives you promise for the future. So if he takes that next step in becoming, that Jimmy Butler type playmaker and facilitator and scorer with the three-point shot and defense, Jimmy Butler obviously played defense in his heyday. He's still playing good defense now. If RJ Barrett could take that next step, the future is extremely bright, and you don't have to go out and trade for such and such play. You could build around RJ Barrett as your truly foundational player. But guys, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm wilding? Do you think that RJ Barrett, I'm overrating his potential impact for next season? Do you think I'm wrong on the things he has to work on? Do you think I'm wrong on his strengths and all the dynamic factors and things that he bring in this season? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave them below after the video finishes. Also, please leave me a like. Subscribe to the video if you haven't already. It's your boy Game of Kioske, Legion of Knicks, and we out.